Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
The bold and the beautiful spoilers for the coming 3 weeks, October 27th to November 14th, reveal that Steffy Forrester Finnegan may go on the quest for information while Hope Logan sounds the alarm. Ridge Forrester will also smell trouble, so then's what B&B's cuisine up. The week of October 27th to 31st will deliver some reunion happiness for Hope, Liam Spencer, and Beth Spencer. It looks like Liam will lock in a speedy engagement to Hope before they leave Beth rapturous over the news. As for Taylor Hayes, she'll let the lines blur between case and implicit nut. Deacon Sharp's coming remedy session will take a violent turn, so he'll contend Taylor deserves better than Ridge and find himself drawn to her lips. During a Hope for the Unborn platoon meeting in the Exchange, Deke Sharp will want to introduce Remy Price to everyone. That'll be a problem since Deke doesn't realize Remy stalked Electra Forrester and created deepfake prints that derailed her life. Of course, Electra will be quick to let Deke know exactly what Remy is able of. The same goes for Ivy Forrester, who'll be part of these scenes along with Hope and Daphne Rose. Hope will no doubt sound the alarm to Deke about Remy being a dangerous troublemaker and push her family to put Remy behind him. Deke will probably leave Remy, but getting over him may not be so easy. During the week of November 3rd to 7th, Remy will supplicate Deke to understand that he just wants a clean slate. Although Remy made big miscalculations, he'll want a chance to prove he's turned his life around. Deke wouldn't be so sure considering Remy was musketeers with Luna Nozawa not too long agone. Indeed so, part of Deke may still love and want Remy. It could help Deke understand Deacon's perspective a bit better when it comes to Sheila Sharp. Speaking of Sheila, she might hope this Remy situation could work in her favor. Sheila might try to move Deke to take Remy back in expedience that it'll move Cleric to take her back, too. As for Steffy, she may smell that Taylor is hiding commodity. Steffy knows her mama awfully well, so she may go on the quest for information and try to get to the bottom of effects. Will Steffy get the feeling that sparks have been flying between Taylor and Deacon? Ridge may also smell trouble and ultimately figure out Deacon is crushing on Taylor hard. That could lead to Ridge advising Cleric to back off, especially when Taylor's vulnerable after a broken engagement. Carter Walton will inescapably get updates on Liam and Hope's marriage plans, but he'll focus on reining Daphne with attention. That could lead to a grand gesture or two by the time the week of November 10th to 14th rolls around. Carter knows Daphne isn't one of his typical misses in torture, but she may appreciate him being Prince Charming anyway. We'll see Carter woo Daphne and presumably let passion erupt with her in the not-too-distant future. Back with Hope, she'll have a lot on her plate between fashion show fix and gearing up for her espousal with Liam. Hope will also keep importing in on Deke and Deacon's love lives, so she'll have plenitude of systems to attack. Despite Luna's desire to get cozy at Bill Spencer's manse again, he'll want to relieve the place of her evil rather. Former Big Family winner Rachel Riley will step back into her part as Rachel the Bikini Bar Garçon, though this time, she'll also do spiritual cleansings on the side. Rachel will serve as an energy healer in Bill's home, so she'll have some interesting scenes with Bill, Liam and Katie Logan on November 13th and November 14th. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say the coming 3 weeks will bring some marvels and shakeups, so stay tuned for all the excitement. The Los Angeles Sun, usually a brilliant spotlight on the glamorous lives of the city's elite, felt pale and indifferent as it streamed through the towering windows of Forrester Creations. In the CEO's office, Steffy Forrester stood as a pillar of poised authority. Dressed in a sharp, tailored power suit, she was the very image of the modern dynasty leader. Her grandmother Stephanie's iron will tempered by her father Ridge's creative fire. She surveyed the design boards and financial reports scattered across her desk, a kingdom she had fought tooth and nail to secure and protect. For the Forresters, family was everything, and the company was its beating heart. And Steffy was its fiercest guardian. But beneath the polished veneer of corporate control, a tempest of personal anguish was raging. The object of her torment was not a business rival or a corporate raider, but a gentle, unassuming young woman named Luna Nozawa. Luna's arrival in Los Angeles, as her Aunt Poppy's daughter, should have been a minor footnote in the Forrester saga. Instead, she had become the catalyst for an unthinkable chain of events that now threatened to tear Steffy's world apart. It had all centered on Steffy's husband, the perpetually torn Finn Finnegan. Luna's innate kindness and vulnerability had struck a chord with Finn's heroic, savior-complex nature. What Steffy saw as innocent compassion, her own deeply ingrained insecurities, forged in the fire of her parents' turbulent marriage and her own past battles with Hope Logan, interpreted as something far more dangerous. A lingering glance, a quiet conversation, a moment of shared concern, each interaction was distorted through the lens of Steffy's fear, morphing into the specter of an emotional affair, the first step toward her losing the stable, loving man she had built a family with. The encouraging words she received from those who loved her fell on deaf ears. Her mother, Taylor Hayes, a renowned psychiatrist, had urged calm. "Steffy, you're seeing ghosts," Taylor had said, her voice laced with professional concern. "Finn loves you. He adores you and the children. This is your anxiety, your past trauma, creating a narrative that isn't there. You have to trust him. You have to trust what you have." Even her brother, Thomas, had tried to reason with her. "She's just a kid, Steffy. A nice girl. Finn's a doctor, he helps people. It's what he does. Don't let this paranoia destroy the good thing you have." But their words were like seeds thrown on stone. Steffy's fear had taken root, a poisonous vine that choked out reason and twisted her perception of reality. She wasn't just protecting her marriage, she was protecting her entire world from a threat she believed was as insidious as it was undeniable. Luna had to be removed from the equation. Her initial attempts were corporate and cold, leveraging her power to marginalize Luna at work, assigning her to menial tasks, freezing her out of creative meetings. But Luna, with Poppy's resilient support, endured. This only fueled Steffy's fury. The woman wouldn't be intimidated. She wouldn't just disappear. The situation demanded a more permanent, more definitive solution. Fate, in its cruel irony, provided the perfect opportunity. Luna, in a tragic case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, was wrongly implicated in a serious crime, a high-stakes theft of intellectual property from a rival fashion house. The evidence, though circumstantial, was damning enough for a swift and shocking arrest. As Steffy watched the news break on the television in her office, a cold, calculating calm settled over her. This was it. Luna, behind bars, was vulnerable. The system was slow, cumbersome, and often brutal. A person could get lost in there. A person could be broken. It was then that Steffy crossed a line from which there could be no return. She descended into a shadow world she knew only from corporate security briefings and crime thrillers. Through a series of encrypted calls and clandestine meetings with a discreet, and exorbitantly expensive, private investigator, she was put in contact with a man known only as Griffin. Griffin was a fixer, a man whose profession existed in the gray areas of the law, specializing in making problems disappear for a price. Their meeting took place in a dimly lit, anonymous hotel bar, far from the glittering lights of Beverly Hills. Steffy, disguised in a nondescript hoodie and sunglasses, felt a nauseating mix of power and self-loathing. "The woman, Luna Nozawa, is in the county jail," Steffy stated, her voice low and steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside. "I understand she's facing a long sentence. Prison life, it's dangerous. Unpredictable." Griffin, a man with a calm demeanor and eyes that held no light, simply nodded. "It can be. Accidents happen. People have conflicts. I want to ensure she has a particularly difficult time," Steffy continued, choosing her words with the precision of a lawyer crafting a loophole. "I want her to understand that she is not welcome here. That her presence has consequences. I want her to be so terrified, so broken by the experience, that the moment she is released, she gets on the first plane out of the country and never looks back." She slid a thick envelope across the table. "This is a retainer. There will be twice as much upon confirmation that my wishes have been effectively communicated." Griffin pocketed the envelope without looking inside. "Communication can be arranged. A message can be delivered. Loud and clear." Steffy never used the words kill or murder. In her mind, this semantic distinction provided a shield, a layer of deniability that allowed her to sleep at night. She wasn't ordering a hit, she was orchestrating a scare tactic, a severe intimidation campaign. She was paying for a consequence, not a coffin. This was the fragile lie she told herself to justify the unforgivable. Back in the present, in her pristine office, Steffy clung to that lie. Luna had been in prison for several weeks now. The initial reports from Griffin, delivered through untraceable burner phones, were vague but positive. The environment is being managed. The subject is under significant duress. Steffy took a grim satisfaction in each update. The problem was being handled. Her family was being secured. Meanwhile, within the cold, concrete walls of the county jail, Luna's world had become a waking nightmare. The initial shock of her arrest had been supplanted by a creeping, pervasive dread. She was isolated, moved to a segregated wing under the guise of protective custody. The guards were uncharacteristically indifferent to her presence, and the few inmates she encountered regarded her with a strange, knowing hostility. The true horror began subtly. A threatening note tucked under her thin mattress. Her food tampered with, leaving her violently ill. Then, it escalated. She was accidentally shoved down a flight of metal stairs, leaving her with a sprained wrist and a cascade of bruises. Whispers followed her in the corridors, hissing promises of worse to come. You don't belong here. Your time is almost up. No one is coming for you. Luna, whose spirit was one of gentle artistry, felt it fracturing. She knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was not random prison brutality. This was targeted. This was personal. In a moment of desperate clarity during a monitored phone call with her mother, she broke down. It's Steffy, Mom. I know it is. She hates me. She thinks I'm a threat to her marriage. She's doing this. She's having me hurt in here. Poppy, hysterical with fear, took Luna's desperate accusation to the only person she believed had the power and integrity to help, Deputy Chief Baker of the LAPD. Baker, a weary but incorruptible man with a long history of dealing with the city's powerful families, listened intently. He had initially been skeptical of Luna's guilt in the theft case, and this new allegation, while outrageous, fit a pattern he had seen before. Wealth and influence used as a weapon. He initiated a quiet, off-the-books investigation. He focused on the money. Steffy Forrester was a savvy businesswoman, but covering financial tracks for a criminal enterprise required a different skill set. Baker's team, leveraging contacts in the financial crimes unit, began tracing large, unusual cash withdrawals from Steffy's accounts and shell corporations linked to her name. It was a painstaking process, but the digital paper trail, once found, was damning. Simultaneously, within the jail, Baker arranged for a trusted undercover officer to be placed near Luna. This officer witnessed the systematic harassment and, crucially, managed to identify one of the primary aggressors, a woman with a long rap sheet for assault who had recently come into a surprising amount of money that was traced through a convoluted path back to an account controlled by Griffin. The net was closing. The day of reckoning began like any other at Forrester Creations. A major photo shoot was underway, celebrating the new Hope for the Future line. The atmosphere was one of creative chaos and glamour. Hope Logan herself was there, a vision of serene beauty, embodying the brand's ethos. Ridge and Brooke watched from the sidelines, beaming with pride. The company was thriving, the family was, for a moment, united. Steffy moved through the crowd, a queen holding court. She exchanged pleasantries, gave directives, her confidence seemingly unshakable. The problem of Luna was being contained, and soon it would be permanently resolved. She allowed herself a small, private smile. It was then that the main elevator doors slid open. The cheerful noise of the chute faltered, then died altogether as Deputy Chief Baker, his face a mask of grim duty, walked in. He was flanked by 4 uniformed police officers, their presence a stark, jarring contrast to the silk and chiffon of the fashion shoot. All eyes turned to them. Ridge was the first to react, stepping forward with his characteristic blend of authority and charm. Baker? What's the meaning of this? This is a private event. Baker's gaze swept past Ridge and landed squarely on Steffy. Steffy Forrester Finnegan? Steffy's blood ran cold, but her posture remained ramrod straight. Deputy Chief. This is a surprise. How can I help you? The encouraging words of the fashion show, the talk of hope and the future, now seemed like a cruel joke, the setup for a devastating punchline. Baker's voice was loud and clear, cutting through the stunned silence. Steffy Forrester Finnegan, you are under arrest for the solicitation of murder, conspiracy to commit a felony, and criminal threatening. A collective, sharp gasp rippled through the room. Brooke clutched Ridge's arm. Hope's hands flew to her mouth. Thomas stared in disbelief. What? Ridge roared, stepping between Baker and his daughter. This is insane. Solicitation of murder? Who? What are you talking about? The charges relate to a conspiracy to cause grievous bodily harm, leading to death, to an inmate currently in custody, Luna Nozawa, Baker stated, his tone devoid of emotion. He began to recite the Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. The angry threat Steffy had set in motion in the shadows had now materialized in the brightest possible spotlight, in the heart of her own empire. No. This is a mistake. Steffy cried out, her composure finally shattering. Her eyes, wide with panic, scanned the room, looking for an ally, finding only horror and shock. I didn't. I never said to kill anyone. I wanted her scared. I wanted her gone. That's all. Her frantic, self-incriminating words hung in the air, more damning than any prosecutor's opening statement. Steffy, don't say another word. Thomas yelled, finally snapping out of his stupor and rushing to her side. But it was too late. The officers moved in. As one of them took her arm to guide her hands behind her back, the scene descended into surreal horror. The click of the handcuffs locking around her wrists was a sound so small, yet it echoed like a gunshot through the grand room. They were cold, unforgiving metal, a brand of shame on the wrists that designed world-renowned fashion. Daddy! Steffy screamed, her voice cracking with raw terror as Ridge lunged forward, only to be held back firmly by two of the officers. You can't do this. She's my daughter. This is a travesty. Ridge bellowed, his face purple with rage and helplessness. Ridge, please, let the lawyers handle this. Brooke pleaded, tears streaming down her face, her own history of being judged and vilified rushing back in a sickening wave. The cameras of the fashion photographers, which moments before had been capturing beauty and fantasy, now clicked and whirred, capturing a far more sensational and tragic drama, the perp walk of a Forrester heiress. Steffy, in her $1,000 suit, was escorted past mannequins draped in elegant gowns, through a gauntlet of her stunned employees and family, and into the public elevator. The news spread through Los Angeles with the speed of a wildfire. News choppers circled above Forrester Creations. Reporters swarmed the entrance. Headlines blared, Forrester heiress in murder for hire plot. Steffy Forrester arrested. Bold and beautiful scandal. In the aftermath, the Forrester mansion became a bunker of grief and panic. Taylor Hayes arrived, frantic, having heard the news on the radio. She wouldn't do this. Not my Steffy. She's been unstable, yes, paranoid, but she is not a murderer. She as much as admitted it, Taylor. Ridge shouted, pacing the floor like a caged animal. In front of everyone. She said she wanted her gone. What was she thinking? Finn arrived, his face ashen. He had been at the hospital, saving lives, while his wife was being arrested for trying to end one. The cognitive dissonance was paralyzing. The woman he loved, the mother of his children, was accused of plotting to kill a young woman he had only ever tried to help. The emotional affair Steffy had fantasized about had now spawned a very real, very criminal consequence. I tried to talk to her, Finn, Taylor cried, turning to her son-in-law. I told her she was being irrational about Luna. I told her to get help. Oh, my God, my baby is in a jail cell. The legal machinery ground into motion. Steffy was processed, fingerprinted, and placed in a cold, sterile holding cell. The reality of her situation was a physical blow. The smell of disinfectant and despair, the sound of slamming metal doors, the hollow eyes of the other women in nearby cells, this was the world her money and influence had created for Luna, and now it was her world, too. Her high-powered attorney, a sleek shark in a $5,000 suit, arrived quickly. "The first thing we do is petition for bail," he said, "all business. But given the severity of the charges, it's going to be an uphill battle. The prosecution has a strong case. They have financial records, a statement from the undercover officer, and your own public admission." Steffy sat on the hard bench, her head in her hands. "I didn't mean for her to be killed," she whispered, her voice hollow. I saw her taking everything from me. My husband, my family. I was so scared." "Intent is a tricky thing, Steffy," the lawyer replied coolly. "Paying a known criminal to deliver a message to a vulnerable inmate that results in life-threatening harm? A jury will have a very clear idea of what your intent was." The bail hearing the next day was a media circus. The courtroom was packed. On one side sat the Forrester-Logan clan, a united front of anguish. On the other, Poppy and Luna, who had been released on her own recognizance after the new evidence came to light, her face still bearing the faint shadows of her ordeal. When Luna walked in, leaning on her mother for support, she glanced at Steffy, and the fear in her eyes was a testament to the success of Steffy's campaign of terror. The prosecutor, a fierce and ambitious woman, laid out the state's case with brutal efficiency. She detailed the wire transfers, the testimony of the undercover officer about the orchestrated attacks, and the statement from the hired inmate. She played a clip from the security footage of the Forrester Creations shoot, Steffy's desperate cry of "I wanted her gone," ringing through the solemn courtroom. The defendant, the prosecutor boomed, wielded her immense privilege and wealth not as a tool for good, but as a weapon to execute a premeditated plan to eliminate a perceived romantic rival. She turned the justice system into her own personal hit squad. "She is an extreme flight risk and a clear and present danger to the community, specifically to Luna Nozawa." Steffy's attorney argued for home confinement, electronic monitoring, an exorbitant bail amount, anything. He spoke of her ties to the community, her children, her standing. But the judge, after a stern, silent deliberation, saw only a woman with vast resources and a proven capacity for ruthless action. "Bail is denied," the judge declared, his gavel striking with a sound of finality that sent a wail of despair from Taylor echoing through the room. As the court officers led her away, Steffy looked back at her family. She saw her father's shattered expression, her mother's tears, her husband's look of profound betrayal and confusion. She saw the triumphant, vengeful glare from Poppy and the pitying, terrified gaze of Luna. The encouraging words about family and legacy that had defined her life were now ashes in her mouth. The angry threats she had whispered in the shadows had boomeranged back with the force of a sledgehammer, shattering her freedom, her reputation, and very nearly, her soul. She was no longer Steffy Forrester, CEO and style icon. She was inmate number 787230, and the walls of her new world were closing in, built brick by brick from her own jealousy, fear, and unforgivable wrath. The battle to save her family had ended with her becoming its greatest threat.